Hello everyone, let's continue the journey with the weapons AnimationSets. So what I did already is to import some animations for the axe, the short and the large axe. So for example we have the walk animation, which is similar to the one we already have. This is walk backwards, forward. We have the dash animations and so on and so forth. Similarly for the large axe, this is using both hands in this case to hold the axe, the large axe. So what we need to now to talk about is how to handle this animation set. So if you were to use the standard ORK Framework animation system, so let's open up the editor to take a look at. You will probably go to the base control, then animation types, and here in animations you will build a list of animation based on the weapon you have and set this animation to be type of mechanism set animation types, and perhaps have a animation controller to override the standard animator controller that your character is using. Later on you will need to go to the inventory and then in the equipment itself choose your weapon, and there I believe is in the equipment settings where we have the animation set, yes, animation settings. So either for the no battle animations or the animation battle, you will then link this animation type to this setting here. But since we are crazy, we are using Animancer to do the animation system. So what we are going to do is to handle similar way in order to, in our weapon itself, have a script that we can bind the animation set that we already created in the previous videos. So we have here in the data folder animation set moveset. For the time being we have this on ARM animation set, which is a list of all the clips that we are going to use for the standard locomotion and later on for each weapon. So after this being said, let's go to our script folder. So we have character folder, and let's create a new script, and let's call this one weapon. Let Unity compile. Anytime Unity. There we go. Once compiled, open the script in your editor of selection or choice. Okay, so what we need here? We need a reference to our character script. Remember, the character script is like a hub that has reference to mostly all scripts in the system that we have for the character. So let's add a serialize attribute here and call private character. Let's call this to character, come on. And let's add a public property, so character. This will return our private variable character, like so. Also we want a reference to our animation set scriptable object. So let's add a serialized field attribute, private animation set, and the reason why the IntelliSense is not working is because we added this one to the roastedgames.data namespace. So let's add a using .data namespace, and now we have the type available, and call this variable, let's see, weapon animation set, and let's add a public property as well, weapon animation set, and this is going to return our variable above. Like so. So we have the script that we are going to add to every weapon that we wanted to use a different animation set, and we can set then in the start, when the game started and this method is called, we can check whether we have the character set. Remember, the order of the mono behavior scripts really depends here a lot. So character, if the character is null, we will try to find the character component in the parent of the hierarchy that this script is attached to. So let's do a character equals the transform of the script. Then we search for the root. This is the topmost parent of this component. We check the game object in the root, and we fetch the game component of character. Like so. So at this point we can use, we can do a double check again. If it's still null at this state, we can log an error message so we can see it in the inspector. It's up to you, but I will do it. So let me just copy this guy here and do now a debug log error. So character not found in parent game object. So assuming now that we have actually the character, also at this point we could just do a return, because if the component is still null, then we will throw an error message if we try to do this one. So what we are going to do here at the start is call a method that we are going to create a function to switch the animation set. So let's add character dot set current animation set. We need to create this method yet, so bear with me. And we are going to pass the weapon animation set reference that we have here at the weapon in the weapon component. Okay. Also, when we change the animation set, we need to tell the character states that somehow the animation that is currently being played needs to be changed. So for that reason, we are going to create now, we're going to add now an event that can we invoke when a new animation, or sorry, a new weapon is equipped to the character. So here let's create a new and in a new line public static event, and this is going to be a system action, not access violation action, like so. And let's call this event on weapon changed. Like so. So when we need to invoke this event, let me copy, when we start, or when this script started the first time, so we check if we have a listener. So if there is no one listening, this will return null. So this is why we add this question mark here, and then we invoke. So it will only invoke if we have listeners listening for this event. And of course, because we are registering something to event system on destroy of this game object, what we want to do is, first of all, return or set the default animation set in the character. So set, this is another function that we need to create, so set default animation set, like so. And we also need to call again the event. So any other animations or character states, like the locomotion state, the strafe locomotion state, will know that the weapon has changed as well when we unequip. This is, for example, when we unequip a weapon, this script will be destroyed, and we need to reset the current animation to the default one. So now that we have this weapon script, we can go back to our character script and add these two functions. So let's click on our type assignment here and do an F12 to go to the character script, and let's scroll down. So if you remember, we added the default animation set and the current animation set to track the current animation that we are playing. So let's scroll down and let's add these two functions here in the bottom of the script. So the first one is going to be set current animation set. We could actually go here and just type Control dot, and Visual Studio will suggest to generate the method in the class, so let's do that, as well as the other one, so Control dot. And let's now go back to the character, and we should have somewhere the two methods. Okay, they put it here, so let's just copy those. Control X and paste it below. So the internal key here just saying that this method can only be called from within the compiled DLL from this class. So we can leave it as it is, but I will change it just to public, both of them. And now we have here the animation set is going to call for the weapon animation set, which is it could be not only for weapon animation set, so let's change or remove the weapon word and type perhaps the animation set. And here we can remove the throw new not implemented exception, and let's assign our current animation set is going to be now or equal to the animation set. Similarly, here in the set default animation set, we can set that the current animation set is going to be equals to the default animation set. As simple as that. So this is the only thing that we need to do here in the character script. So we can now save all the scripts and go back to Unity, just let it compile the changes. Now the last step is to add a listener to this on change weapon change event to our animation states or the character states. Okay, so we are going to go to the state subfolder. So for example, we have the locomotion state. Let's open up the script. Let's collapse the current animation. So here in the awake, when the states enter for the first time, this is the place that we can use to register to this event. So let's type weapon. On weapon we have the event. If we type the tab key and then we add plus equals, then we can press again the tab key to generate a method for us, Visual Studio. Okay, so weapon on weapon change. At this point we can actually rename this method, so let's do that. I will call this one to update animation set. And what we want to do here in this in the body of this function is do actually what we are doing here, like transferring or copying the clip transitions or the animations, the motions from the current animation set that is being executed. So what we can do is take all these entries here and make a new method out of it. So let's do a quick actions refactor. What is it? Well, never mind, I will do it like so. So let's add a private void change animation set, and let me copy all these entries here inside this method. Now we can call it when we are in the awake function, as well as every time the event triggers a weapon change, like so. And because we are dealing with listening to events and registering to events, when this game object is destroyed, so on destroy, we want to unregister for the event to avoid memory leaks, like so. Okay, so far when we start or we enter this locomotion state, we are registering to the event of the on weapon change. Regardless, we are calling the change animation set just to make sure that we are going to load or the current animation that we have in the character component and map the idle, walk, jog, sprint animations to this animation set. And because these animations are animation that requires looping, or they are loop animations, we are calling in the update method constantly to play the current animation, which is retrieved by this function here. If you remember, to determine whether we are in movement. If we are moving, then we check the movement speed or the magnitude in order to select whether we are walking, jogging or sprinting. Alright. Otherwise we return the idle animation. However, we need to also keep track of the current animation set that this state is executing. The reason being is that if we go back quickly to Unity and we check our player, remember that we are using this concept of multi-state. So let it compile, and in here in the states, in the multi-state script, we have 3 states, and this multi-state will loop or will enter each of these sub-states in the every tick to check whether it can enter these substates. And of course these substates cannot talk to each other. So if we change, let's say if we are in the locomotion state and then we lock on target and we switch to the strafe locomotion state, then the current animation set will not be set properly, or if we switch in between these 2 substates. So that's the reason why we need to track also at the state level which is the current animation set that we are using at the moment. So let's go back to the locomotion state script and let's add a new variable here, and let's call this one private animation set, and we need to add the namespace, and let's call this one local current animation set. And when we initialize this variable, we can assign it to the character current animation set already. Then in the onEnter state, after we call the base onEnter state and we play the current animation, we want to check if this state left with a different animation set than the one that is coming back to us. So we need to double check again what is the current animation in the character component in case we switch states in between. So let's do a if local animation set is not equals to the character current animation set, then we do a change, or we call the change animation set, which will do actually remapping all the animations back to the current animation set that is running. Okay, hope I did a good explanation of what we need to do. And of course this kind of behavior needs to be also replicated in all of our states that we currently have. So I will do that behind the scenes and come back afterwards. Okay, so back to the result. We already changed the locomotion state. Hopefully we only have 3 main states afterward, or 4 states in total. So we have the dodge state, which handle the dash, the roll and the jump, or the back step. So again, I added the private local current animation set. In the onEnter state, I'm checking if it's the actual is equals to the current animation in case we switch to any of these other states. And afterwards I change or call the change animation set, which in turn will map all of our animation clips and also the MixerTransition 2D. We register in the awake to the weapon on change event, and we unregister in on destroy. Okay. Similarly, for the jump state, we do the same. We created the local reference to the current animation set. In the awake, we register to the on weapon change. We change the animation set. here I forgot to move these guys or remove them from here because we already have them in the change animation set, where we switch the jump animation and we register to the on end jump event when the animation ends to return to the default state. And the on destroy we unregister for the weapon change. And lastly, in the strafe locomotion state, we do the same. We register a local reference to the current animation set. In the on enter state, we check, we compare. If it's different to the current one, then we call the change animation set. In the awake, we are registering to the on weapon change. In the on destroy, we are on registering for the on weapon change event. In the change animation set, we copy the current animation set for this mixer transition and copy all the animations to the current mixer transition. Okay, now we are not yet done in order to start testing, because let me save everything and let's go quickly to the Unity editor. What we still need to do is to create our animation set, of course. So let's go to data, animation moveset. Currently we have the on-arm animation set scriptable object. So at this point we could duplicate this twice to have the short axe animation set and the long axe animation set. But before doing that, let me discuss something with you guys. So let me go back to the script. After my testing, I found out that the copy from, when used from the mixer transition to 2D, is not doing what I was expecting to. So it's not actually replacing all the animations that are currently in the dictionary of the multi-transition or the mixer transition 2D from the animation that we are passing, or at least it works partially, but as soon as we start switching between states, it just breaks up. It's broken in this case. So that's something I try to report, but long story short, what we are going to do is stop using the mixer transition 2D and move all these animations to be a single clip transition that we have here, for example, in the job state. So clip transitions. So for all this strafe animation, we are going to switch back to just use a standard clip transition, which works perfectly fine for what we want to achieve here. I don't want this to be a 1 hour long video, so I will do that in the next video. I want just to mention that issue so I don't waste your time trying to redo something that we are going to throw to the bin at the end. Okay. There is though one interesting thing that I found to achieve this goal is in the plugins, in the Animancer plugin. We have in the utilities, there is this directional animations and this directional animation set 8, which is an scriptable object as well. So let me open the script quickly. That is doing partially what we want to achieve. So in this case, for each direction is calling an animation clip, which comes with the Unity engine. But what we want to do is to actually use a transition, a clip transition, because this one already contains a functionality to do fade in, fade out, and register the when it ends. So we are going to be building a class out of this logic that we have here to meet our requirements. And yeah, it already has some functions to detect the proper direction that, or the animation that needs to be executed by the direction that we are facing, the or input direction that we are sending from the keyboard or the gamepad. So this is really handy. And we are going to be then changing our animation set that we have. This is the scriptable object that we use in order to add a subclass that we are going to build here in the next video. So bear with me in this change that we are going to do, because it's worth the effort. Thank you for joining this video today, and if you like the content, please subscribe and hit the notification bell in case you wanted to be notified for future videos. See you on the next one.